You're listening to Alcoholics Alive, where recovered members of Alcoholics Anonymous share their experience on how they live AA as a way of life. None of our participants get paid or speak for AA. Here are your hosts, Shank and Wayne. Shank, we've been getting some good suggestions from listeners on chips. So we've requested, obviously, information from folks on some of the sayings and slogans and things that they hear when groups are giving out chips or celebrating anniversaries or birthdays. So if you've sent info, we appreciate it. We are going to cover it on a future episode. However, I was at a meeting last Wednesday, and I wanted to hit you with one, Shank, that I heard.
Okay. Have I heard it before?
I don't know. Maybe earlier this morning, but so the guy's giving out chips, and he goes through the white chip or beginner chip or 24-hour chip, wherever you're at, whatever you call that, it's the surrender chip. And he got through all those, so he's getting to the 1 year and up. And so all those chips were plastic. And when he got to the 1 year, he says, now we're going to give out the heavy metal.
Yes!
That's
yeah. Meaning the year chip and higher were medallions, and they were made out of metal, so we're going to give out the heavy metal.
Please send us all your chip shrapnel. It's so good. It's so funny.
It really is.
Chips and medallions. Oh, something else. Let's see. Some people don't say anniversary. They say birthday.
Correct.
So also send us your birthday shrapnel, which is the same thing, essentially.
And if you go to a meeting or a group that gives out other stuff, so we do know of groups that give out sticks,
Yep.
rocks,
Yep.
clothespins, clips. We would like to hear about that as well. So anything
There's
along
got to be
the
some
lines.
other stuff. If we know of all of that just in our area, and I don't mean our state, our area, I mean the Tri-County here.
Yes.
There's got to be a lot of other good stuff.
Yeah. We're just trying to have fun with it. So send us what you got. Now, on a serious note, what is our Upon Awakening reading?
Well, this is going to double down here on having fun and being serious.
Okay.
This comes from the book Alcoholics Anonymous at page 132. That's the 4th edition, 2001. The book Alcoholics Anonymous. It's nowhere on mine does it say big book. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Alcoholics Anonymous.
Okay, so page 132. And it says, we have been speaking to you of serious, sometimes tragic things. We have been dealing with alcohol in its worst aspect. But we aren't a glum lot. If newcomers could see no joy or fun in our existence, they wouldn't want it. We absolutely insist on enjoying life. We try not to indulge in cynicism over the state of the nations, nor do we carry the world's troubles on our shoulders. When we see a man sinking into the mire that is alcoholism, we give him first aid and place what we have at his disposal. For his sake, we do recount and almost relive the horrors of our past. But those of us who have tried to shoulder the entire burden and trouble of others find we are soon overcome by them.
Well, there's certainly a lot of hope in this reading that life is not over when we get sober, that there actually can be good things for us in the future. It ties into a lot of the other stuff in the book Alcoholics Anonymous that reminds us that our past actually becomes one of our greatest assets, because those experiences are what we use literally to bring people back from the gates of the gates of hell, or give them hope that they can get better. And I mean, I personally have always liked this reading. I've used it a lot actually as meeting topic. But it tells us that we insist on enjoying life, right? We get sober, and we take our place in our community or in society, and we start living. Matter of fact, we both got sober young. I mean, I kind of thought when I first got sober that life was going to be over and boring, and I realized that I never did enjoy life prior to getting sober. That I was kind of just shielded from stuff and had a kind of a skewed perception of what the world really was about and what life was, and AA changed that. And now people argue maybe some of us are having a little too much fun.
I know. Like there's so much fun. I've had a lot of fun in Alcoholics Anonymous doing very mundane, like run-of-the-mill AA service and or just going to different groups, going to different meetings. I mean, I have laughed so hard at just like something that shouldn't be funny, but for some reason you get a group of people that you all know each other pretty well together, and it can just be hilarious. I was not capable of finding anything that funny prior to getting sober, quite frankly. I thought everything was a threat, or you were judging me, or I don't know.
The other thing that it's done is it's helped me to take that same kind of enthusiasm and humor and just kind of lightheartedness into my family. Mm-hmm. And like even into, workplace and community, and try to be more like the other reading says, try to be a bright spot instead of, going there all paranoid, wondering who's out to get me. And
I love too that not only does this say like, we don't shoulder the entire burden of others, okay? We also don't carry the world's troubles on our shoulders, and we don't indulge in cynicism over the state of the nations. Which is not to say that I don't have thoughts and opinions, and, I have thoughts and opinions, but when it really comes down to living my life today, I know that I'm a child of God. And I know that everything's going to be okay. Like, I don't have fear over life or death.
it's a great feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Nothing is going to affect me to such a degree that I'm going to melt down and not be able to go to work or go to my home group or help an alcoholic or participate in my family. It's true freedom.
It's very, very much true freedom. So if you want to experience that, take the 12 steps and get involved in a good group and try to be helpful to other alcoholics. And then that will help you to be helpful in other places. Now, Shank, on the idea of enjoying life and having a good time, what is our topic?
Season 12, episode 6. Keep coming back.
Wait a minute, that's the topic? Keep coming back?
That's the topic.
Nice.
There's actually a girl at our home group, and I've known her my entire sobriety, and at the end of every share, she always says, I'm going to keep coming back. And she's always done that. I'm sure there was a predecessor to her, okay? She's always done that. But since she's joined our home group the last few years, other people have started saying that at the end of their share. I said, you started a trend. Like, you're responsible for this.
I think that when we started this season, by the way, I don't remember a lot of the other seasons, but I think this is my favorite one, with kind of taking a look at some of these sayings, and I appreciate your original suggestion of tying the concepts and the traditions into it and making us a Three Legacy podcast. I think that brings some validity and legitimacy to the pod. But anyway, this, I think at the very first episode of this season, I think I may have asked a question, or I was wondering, like, wonder what the most popular statement in AA is, or what slogan or saying is said the most.
Yeah.
This might be it.
It's probably in the top 5 at least.
Yeah. Yeah, this could be it. And this is, to me, it's one of those, it's like a throwaway statement, meaning it's got some validity to it, but it's something that I think a lot of people say and they don't even realize they're saying. It's just kind of like, it just becomes like this habit of, hey, keep coming back.
So at the end of some groups, after they say a prayer or not, and you're all holding hands, I can't remember what you refer to this as. There was a name for it, but it's where people like shake their arms when they're still holding your hands. They'll be like, keep coming back. Works if you work it and you work it real good and you're here and you're there. It just is like, whoa.
You hear that a lot.
Yeah.
There's some places across the country, they do it at every meeting.
In unison.
In unison. So right after the prayer, whatever the prayer is, Lord's Prayer, Serenity Prayer, 7-step prayer, responsibility statement, they'll do, keep coming back. And there's typically another statement with that. It works if you work it and you live it every day.
Yeah.
Keep coming back and work it because you're worth it.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother,
that's
a whole nother episode on the statement after keep coming back.
Well, what's interesting is for people that think AA is a cult, chanting is a little bit.
It's the
I guess it
worst.
could be said for saying a prayer in unison potentially, but then you go to the chant after the prayer, you're not beating the cult allegations.
No. No, you're not. And I'll tell you what, the meeting I went to last week on Wednesday night, at the end they did the 7th-step prayer.
Oh.
And so we're getting up in there, I'm like, I don't even know the 7th-step prayer.
See, I'm trying to think of what it is.
I know what it is, but I couldn't just repeat it. I've said it thousands of times. I don't know. But so there were about 20 of them that obviously had done this for a long time. So they're all like saying it in unison, and it was creepy to me. Hey, I appreciate the 7-step prayer. I love it. I've said it a lot of times with people. And
Here's how it starts. Let's see if I can get it started for you. It starts, my Creator.
My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and to my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Is that it?
Yeah, you did pretty good.
So they got the prayer written out on these little cards and they put them on the floor. So when you're looking down, when you're holding hands and you're looking down, you can read the prayer off the floor if you don't know it.
Well, I can appreciate that.
But here's the funny thing to me is that prayer is more religious sounding than the Serenity Prayer or the Lord's Prayer.
It does end in amen.
And who knows that prayer? And a new person coming, we're not even on the topic, a new person coming, how would they know to say that prayer?
Well, you have to keep coming back.
They look down at the floor, and then they tell you to keep coming back.
My gosh. That's awesome.
So anyway, this statement, keep coming back. Here's what my sponsor would say. That was last week's shrapnel, by the way. My sponsor said...
What do you say, just stay?
He would say stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Stay. Don't never leave.
Well, you know,
it's kind of like back to basics. If you don't leave the basics, you never have to get back to them.
Well, okay, so for me, when people would say that, and admittedly, it was usually people that would say a lot of kind of slogan-y stuff. But I remember being new, and this one guy would always say it to me, and I'm like, do I look like I'm going to, like, go drink? You know, like, it just made me feel like maybe I wasn't doing something, or I was like showing some kind of signs of like not being committed. Or, I mean, I was shaking hands at the door. I'd show up early. I had a key to the church at one point. And eventually I just saw that that is what he would do. He also said plug in the jug all the time and different things. And I got to know him and like really appreciate what he brought to the group. But, yeah, it made me feel personally kind of like I was sending off some kind of bat signal of like, she's not doing well.
That's a good observation. I never really thought about that. I guess it could be taken the wrong way by people, right? It's like, oh, you think I'm not doing well, I need to come back. I mean, I guess it does, on a positive note, it certainly does kind of reinforce the idea that, hey, you need to keep going to meetings, or you need to just keep staying involved. I don't know.
I don't know. After, another shot, we don't shoot our wounded. But I think too, for some people, it could probably offer some encouragement if you are a member of a group that gives out white chips, and someone is like getting a white chip. It may be encouraging for people to just say, "Hey, keep showing up. Like, we don't want you to leave, or you can still be here."
Yeah. Have you ever got all kinds of thoughts shooting through my head of stuff I've seen? So, have you ever been to a group where they're giving out the what they call the clean white chip, or the brand new 24-hour chip, and the actual group will start chanting, like when the person that has relapse gets up to get the clean white chip, they'll start chanting, "Keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back."
I don't think I have.
Well, there's a group. There's some people that go to that group that do it up in Maryland.
Yeah, I was about to say it has to be the Maryland group.
It's the strangest thing. Now, I mean, it gets people hyped up, and there's some enthusiasm with them. But now, I'm not a guy that's relapsed since I joined Alcoholics Anonymous, but I can't imagine how scary and it would be to most new people that have relapsed. I know that folks think it's encouraging and it builds people up, but I don't know, it's a little strange to me. I guess the term it does help encourage people to keep going to meetings, but I don't know. To me, it's another one of those statements that some folks use because they really don't want to get involved with people.
You know what I just thought of?
What?
This is going to divert us again. That reminds me of like when you're at a conference and they get the person with the least amount of sobriety at the sobriety countdown to go up and get a book from the person with the most sobriety, and they'll say, "Keep coming back, come da da da." But there's this whole production, and I'm like, I would probably never show my face again if I was like, "Yeah, I'm 3 hours sober. Let me get up in front of 1,000 people with this guy who's been sober for 50 years."
It's awful. The thing that I'm curious about, like, I mean, I don't know this, but if I was that person, like if I went to a conference or a convention and I'm sober just a few days or a few months and they're doing a sobriety countdown like that, and I think I might be the newest sober, there's no way in hell I'm standing up.
No, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't raise my hand at all, actually. I'd rather say I'm still drunk right now.
Yes, or something like that. That's got to be awful scary and intimidating to people. I think this comment, or this, I don't know what we call it, we'll call it shrapnel. Maybe it's not shrapnel, but it can be used as a replacement for, not taking any action. Because it does kind of support the one that we covered before, meeting makers make it.
Yeah.
Right, you just keep showing up at meetings and things will magically improve, or you'll get this by osmosis just by showing up. And so I think it's probably harmful in that respect. And again, to me, it's just this real like frothy comment that doesn't have any depth or weight to it in terms of what it actually takes to recover from alcoholism.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of supports that idea that I think we're creating a little bit of a movement with the casual approach to recovery. You can't really recover from alcoholism casually.
Not if you're an alcoholic like the book describes.
No.
Maybe you can be a meeting circler.
Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, I think that's if you just are showing up, you're not working the steps, you're not being of service or spiritually growing, you're just circling around meetings.
We got to put that on the wall. I mean, that's like I swear I've never heard that until today. But it's actually what people do. There are a lot of circlers in AA. Tom would call them hummingbirds.
Ah,
Now, there's a new term for you.
I like that.
This is old school right here. He would call them hummingbird members, or not members. They would just be like just hummingbirds. So they basically go around from meeting to meeting, and they suck what they want, and then leave. Then they'll
Why have I never heard that?
Well, because a lot of that old jargon's gone because we're not keeping it alive.
I love hummingbirds, though.
Well, I do too. So hummingbirds are good in the aspect of they take bad stuff away in another philosophy, but we're not going to go there today. But yeah, he calls them hummingbirds. They just kind of go around and suck stuff out and leave. They don't contribute.
Yeah, and I think keep coming back, maybe inadvertently, is like a replacement for action.
Right.
Like you just show up, to your point, get what you need, and leave, but then come back the next week and not understand why your life is in shambles and your wife is still going to leave, and it's most likely because you keep coming back and you say, oh, sorry, hon, can't mow the lawn tonight because I got to go to this AA meeting. Like you're still a real dickhead.
Yeah. It also ties into the idea of giving somebody your phone number and thinking you've done your job. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying don't give people your phone number, but a lot of times in a meeting there'll be new people there or a new person there, and we'll throw our meeting directory and our phone number in front of them and say, hey, give me a call. And again, we'll check a box and we think we've done our job. Mm-hmm. Well, we can use this that same way, and we should do more than just tell people to keep coming back. We should try to get them into the fellowship if they're alcoholic, and that requires more than just a throwaway statement. It might require me actually getting that person's number and giving them a call.
Well, it goes back to our reading, our Upon Awakening. It says when we see a man sinking into the mire that is alcoholism, we give him first aid and place what we have at his disposal.
Which can go back to strenuous work with
right.
Alcohol. Yeah, that's right. It's more than just that. Just making a few statements to people. Well, what's the big book say?
Okay. Page 58. Everyone should know this one. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path.
So there's a lot more to it than just keep coming back, huh?
That's right.
And you got to take the steps in order to recover.
All right. Page 29. Further on, clear-cut directions are given showing how we recovered.
Well, I love this one because I hear all the time that there's no instructions in the book Alcoholics Anonymous on how to take the steps. But obviously this tells us there's clear-cut directions, and it's the program of action as outlined in the 12 steps. It's not a slogan. So if you want to recover, follow the directions in the book.
Page 25. If you are seriously alcoholic, you may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer.
Well, it tells us that attendance is not the cure. And many times it does, when you hear us sharing meetings, or you'll hear statements like meeting makers make it and keep coming back, it can imply that, hey, just attendance and going to meetings is the solution and the cure, and it's not. Spiritual awakening is. And we can only have a spiritual awakening by taking the steps and taking some actions.
Well, the reading said spiritual experience, so is there a difference in spiritual experience?
Oh, yeah. Hey, wait a minute. Go back to your Rolodex there, and I think we've got a pod on that specific topic. I don't remember when it was or who the guest was on that, but it's a good question. People will debate that. My goodness. Now, Shank, I'm curious on how you're going to tie the traditions and the concepts into this one.
Okay, tradition. We have tradition 3 long form. Our membership ought to include all who suffer from alcoholism. Hence, we may refuse none who wish to recover. Nor ought AA membership ever depend upon money or conformity. Any 2 or 3 alcoholics gathered together for sobriety may call themselves an AA group.
Well, so the statement "keep coming back" kind of ties into the idea of we welcome anyone that has a desire to stop drinking. Actually, the long form says anyone who suffers from alcoholism. Mm-hmm. I think it's important to note that. However, it does imply that we want to recover from alcoholism. We don't want to just attend meetings.
Yeah.
So
attendance will not get you recovered.
no, it kind of supports the statement actually a little bit that, hey, just that, that membership is for anyone that suffers from alcoholism. But the other thing it does say, it says that membership is not dependent upon conforming to stuff. So you could recover by taking the steps and maybe not necessarily keep coming back all the time. How about that? Mm-hmm. That long form of the 3rd tradition is so good.
It is.
It kind of dispels
We
a lot
probably
of other.
said this before, but get rid of all the pamphlets and just make a tradition 3 pamphlet.
We should do a PAI for this. I'm serious. Think about how cool that could be if you did a pamphlet just on the 3rd tradition.
Yeah.
Instead
It
of all
covers
those other
everything. It covers everything.
you could put so much good content in it, and it would make everyone feel welcome. Doesn't exclude anyone, and I don't have to feel awkward when I'm giving the Hispanic female a separate pamphlet just for her. Because that basically what I'm telling you is that, hey, you're different.
Well, you wouldn't give her that one. You'd give her a member's eye view.
That's right.
Which, by the way, okay, I'm going to get...
We're off
in
track.
in the back of the big book, it says it's for professionals.
It's not true.
Well, I know it's for anyone, but if you had to put that in a category, would it be for professionals, or would it just be like our general pamphlet selection?
To me, it would be just a general pamphlet selection. But I get why they're doing that, because, that pamphlet is a talk that an AA member gave
Yeah.
at a professional event. And as a matter of fact, he's one of those guys that who probably didn't get as much credit with growing AA like Bill did.
Yeah.
But this guy helped way more people than Bill Wilson did. The other thing that's funny about that is, but this is something we need to talk to some people about.
Okay.
Why, when So we use Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob names all the time.
Yep.
In all of our like literature and all of our writings, their name. So why, when other AA members that have had huge impacts on the fellowship, when they die, why is it still a secret of who they are?
I don't know.
So why in that pamphlet, why don't they put the guy's name? Who did it? Even if they
Maybe.
leave his last name out, they still could put his first name and last name. I mean, last initial.
Maybe he was a humble king.
But he's not. Go to YouTube. Anyway, that's we're trying.
It blew my mind the first time I was in a big book study, and the person doing the big book study was telling all the names of like the stories in there that they knew, and like, oh, this was our Southern friend, stories in the back, this was this. It blew my freaking mind. I'm like, well, why didn't they just put Jim F? Or why didn't they just put, like, you know,
exactly.
like,
That's what I'm talking about.
Anyway.
Makes no sense. Wouldn't it be? It's easier for us to understand. It wouldn't be like some kind of a secret. You could then easily reference their
yeah,
stories.
but then there would be PAIs for new material based on Jay Wayne, because he was so impactful, and you reference all these other people, and here's why
Okay.
after they're croaked.
Well, you
Then
know
it would
what I was.
probably be a competition for who gets their first name and last initial or something.
There could be something like that going on. I mean, that I could see it maybe going there, and maybe that's part of the reason. But you know what I would say to that? Keep coming back. All right. What about the concept?
All right. What is XI?
That
11?
would be 11.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good one.
Concept 11 long form. While the trustees hold final responsibility for AA's World Service Administration, they should always have the assistance of the best possible standing committees, corporate service directors, executives, staffs, and consultants. Therefore, the composition of these underlying committees and service boards, the personal qualifications of their members, the manner of their induction into service, the systems of rotation, the way in which they are related to each other, the special rights and duties of our executives, and the rights and duties of our staffs, these are matters of serious concern. So can you guess why this was the concept?
Well, I will say this. So that concept, I mean, when you read that concept, you can tell there is a lot more to Alcoholics Anonymous and a lot more to recovering from alcoholism than just keep coming back. Mm-hmm. So I would say that the term keep coming back is what we would call passive encouragement.
That's a good one.
And the concept reminds us that real service and real recovery requires a lot of participation from the person. It requires a willingness from the person. It requires a surrender and ultimately a responsibility to yourself to recover, and a responsibility to other people to pass on what's been given to you freely. So there's a lot more to it than just keep coming back. So I actually like the tie-in. I like the concept. So
And it doesn't only apply, you know what's interesting? The same people, I think, who will say, well, the traditions only apply to the groups, would be the same people to say, well, the concepts only apply to greater service.
Yep, which is not true.
Which is not true. So in this concept, to me, it does say, like, hey, this is very serious. Now, I personally believe that if GSO shut down tomorrow, I would be fine. The GSB at GSO, follow that shutdown. I feel confident that the group I'm a member of would still be in the trenches and in the country clubs helping people.
We'd start
However-
publishing our own books.
That's right. I am at a place where I can really appreciate the people that do this greater service, and that we do have these concepts that can be applied. To me, this says, hey, I need to take my AA home group as seriously as this is stating. Like, we need to have good people in good positions that are going to be able to help the largest number of alcoholics. And that's probably
but-
not by saying keep coming back.
That's right.
And it
There's
may
more
not,
to it.
if there's someone that shows up to the group and they keep coming back, but they've never worked a step and they've never helped anyone, or I haven't helped that person help someone because I'm just as responsible. If there's someone showing up repeatedly and it doesn't seem like they're reading the book, or they're working the steps, or they're finding a sponsor, or they don't know what a home group is, or all of it sounds foreign, then it's my responsibility to make sure that they know those things.
Yep.
And then
They
if they
keep
know
coming-
all of that and they continue to not, then that's something else.
Keep coming back is a beautiful invitation. But there's no depth to it.
Yeah.
And to your point, right? I mean, to recover, it does require work, and it requires a lot of effort on the individual's part, but a lot of effort on the recovered member's part to help them. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I actually think I like the term stay. Let's tell people, hey, join up and stay. Mm-hmm. Don't keep coming back.
Well, and also, it's okay when someone is at a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous to figure out if they're an alcoholic. That is
100%.
okay.
Yeah.
And if they're not, or they have some other affliction, I'm going to help them find where they need to go. If they're not sure, but they were drinking like crazy, but they think that they're only addicted to weed or whatever, like, once again, the third tradition, I don't care.
Doesn't matter.
You know,
That's
let's
right.
talk about your drinking.
Yep. Yeah, instead, we try to convince people that they're alcoholic, or we can help people decide, but it's really up to that individual to make that decision.
I might tell you that drinking mouthwash doesn't sound like something a normal drinker would do. If you're saying, oh, no, I mean, I would just drink mouthwash when I couldn't get alcohol, you know, and I mean, it's just no big deal. I might point out that that's not normal behavior, but I'm still not going to tell you you're an alcoholic.
That's right. Well, Shank, this is just a reminder that we've got a pretty big responsibility to make sure that we're keeping people engaged, and that we're participating, and that we're taking action to help people. That we're not just hitting them with frothy emotional appeal and slogans.
That's right.
Let's move on to Living Sober Shrapnel.
Living Sober Shrapnel, segment of lore, myth, and sayings from the booklet, Living Sober.
Now, let me ask you a quick question before you move forward.
Yep.
Are we... I think you said we were going to be done about the 6th episode of the season. Is that correct?
I think that is correct.
Okay. And then I think we're going to start doing some plain language big book shrapnel. So, next episode will be the first episode with the plain language big book shrapnel. So if you're listening, spread the word and tell people if they want to learn about the plain language big book. Probably not the best podcast for them, but they'll hear us talking about it.
Well, here's something.
I'm curious to see what you got for us today for at the end of the book.
Okay, well, given in our last episode, I sprung the Investment Council poem on you,
Oh,
and
no.
you had erased it from your memory. of 36 years of sobriety, we're going to revisit the Investment Council poem from page 81 in the booklet
Oh
Living
my
Sober.
God. Okay, let's do it.
So I'm going to read it again. It's kind of long, so everyone buckle up. A particular kind of expenditure, however, in addition to food, clothing, and shelter naturally, has been found extremely valuable in our first sober days. One of us has given his permission to print here his. Okay, so this is his particular kind of expenditure. So this is the money question chapter segment in the
Okay.
booklet Living Sober. So this is one member's particular kind of expenditure. Investment Council. In the first few weeks without a drink, when the wolf is at the door, when the sheriff's at the window, and you're sleeping on the floor, and life looks bleak and hopeless from a monetary angle, it's time to spend in certain ways to solve the awful tangle. That token or that bus fare to get you to a meeting, that dime to use the telephone for the necessary greeting, that nickel for expenses that makes you feel you matter, that dollar for the coffee shop for after meeting chatter. All these are wise investments for the neophyte to make. This bread, when cast upon the waters, always comes back cake.
I can't do it. Oh my goodness.
This sounds like a poem. If you ask Chat GPT to write a poem about someone's first, if you said, write a poem about someone's first 30 days and how they should spend money in Alcoholics Anonymous, I feel like this is what would come back.
This is what you think would come back, huh?
I do.
Well, it's comical to me. I mean, I get it. I know that many of us, when we first get sober, I guess the wolf is at the door. That's kind of the fear, and you know, you're kind of on pins and needles waiting for something to happen. The sheriff's at the window. That's funny. Because I did used to peep out the mini blinds thinking that there was somebody out there. And a lot of times I thought it was the police, but there was no one there. Sleeping on the floor. Life does look bleak and hopeless when you first get sober for many of us. Well, I mean, I guess the people do
I'll
take
tell
the
you
bus.
what, when I was cleaning up my financial amends, there was no dollar for the coffee shop. It was you take your coffee with you, or you politely just go and hang out.
Yep. Yeah, well, I don't know. This bread, when cast upon the waters, always comes back cake. What was this guy? I mean, that's just goofy, isn't it?
Yeah.
This bread, when it casts upon the waters, always comes back cake. I'm a little surprised that this got approved and that it's in the book. Have you ever been to a meeting where somebody brought in a poem they wrote and they wanted to read it? It's the worst.
No, it's usually after you're like 5 years sober. And I can't remember if we had Steve M on, but he wrote some pretty righteous, maybe not poem, maybe, when he was in treatment.
Was it Steve?
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, I'm following you.
When he was in treatment in Wilmington, right?
Oh, yes.
That's Steve. We know a lot of Steve M.
We know 3 Steve M's.
I know. I was trying to figure out how to describe him.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly what this reminds me of.
Yep.
Oh, that one he wrote was crazy.
Incredible. So, like, after you're several years sober and you can look back and not cringe and you can just laugh, then you share it with people, you know?
Well, here's the funny thing. So you made me think of something. I actually remember now writing a poem. I'm like sober a couple of weeks and I'm still sitting in the asylum. And I wrote a poem that mirrored a psalm out of the Bible, but I changed the words and I put it on the bulletin board. I can't believe I'm remembering this. I put it on the bulletin board of the asylum. And
God, I love that. I'm still unwilling. I have like all the stuff I wrote when I was in treatment, and then my year that I was incarcerated, my sponsor at the time kept every letter I sent her. And every time I open it up, I'm just like, I can't.
You got to bring some of that stuff out, Shank. Matter of fact,
Maybe
the
next-
listeners are going to demand it.
Maybe next season it'll be Shanks writing shrapnel.
Hey, if it's going to help somebody recover, you should be willing to do it.
Well, I'm going to pray about it.
So, I think we're bringing the Living Sober Shrapnel to a close.
Yes.
Before
we have, there's one more chapter in Living Sober. It's 30, and it's called Trying the 12 Steps. So, well, actually, there's another one called Finding Your Own Way. So, I was thinking that we could go over these maybe in our wrap up. We could go over these last two chapters in Living Sober because there's a lot of good, and if you, it's jarring how good and bad these last two are.
Well, that's what happens with that book. There's some really cool, really good stuff, and then there's some really questionable stuff in it. So we'll let you be the judge of how to proceed forward with the spiritual way of life. In the meantime, I'm scrapping this poem.
Well, I'm going to cast my bread upon the waters today. I like carrot cake. My birthday's coming up, so.
It is, so you're keeping it?
No!
All right, it's out of here.
It's out of here. Listen, when we get the rewrite of Living Sober, I think that if you're a listener of this podcast, you should submit your own poem to replace this one in Living Sober, because obviously we would need an updated poem, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a good...
I mean, who can understand a nickel for expenses? Like, come on.
It's an excellent suggestion.
So, the money question, okay, go to page 81 in the book the booklet, Living Sober. It's where this poem lives. And, I think we should submit some stuff. Come on, guys.
We should submit some stuff.
Get published.
We should put something in there about how a person that is completely washed up and bankrupt, living on the streets, got warrants out, is in a homeless shelter, but still has a cell phone. I wonder if we can. It's always puzzled to me, and we need to figure out how to put that into a poem.
Well, I'm sure someone will. And they'll email it.
All right. Well, so y'all think about all that. Start writing your poems for the Living Sober rewrite. In the meantime, take the steps out of the book Alcoholics Anonymous and be free.
Freedom.
Thanks for listening. If you have a comment, suggestion, or just need help, you can email Shank and Wayne at freedom@alcoholicsalive.com. Remember, we're recovered members of Alcoholics Anonymous, but we do not speak for Alcoholics Anonymous, nor do we get paid. Join us next week for another great episode.